Full of holes last night. You wake up today, and it's still shot full of holes.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
And, of course, up next, Ferguson, Missouri. Bring it on, folks. Bring it on. Great to have you with us. It's Open Line Friday. Rush Limbaugh and the most listened to radio talk show in America. Happy to have you here. The telephone number is 800-282-2882. And I'm going to try to get more phone calls in today. I know a lot of you want to unload. I know a lot of you want to weigh in. And Open Line Friday is designed for just that. Monday through Thursday, callers have to talk about things that I am interested in. And Friday, that's not the case. It's just an opportunity for you to bring up whatever you want to bring up, especially if you think it's things that haven't been discussed enough, or if you have a question, it can be anything. So it's a golden opportunity. It's why it's a great career risk for me, and it's a risk that very few, if any, other major media figures ever take. Telephone number, again, is 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. It was hard to tell last night just whose leader Barack Obama is. I mean, I'm watching this, it's surreal, and it's almost like a dream. Was Barack Obama speaking as President of the United States, or was he speaking as the victorious leader of a foreign invasion? It's curious, the alignments this president makes, the allies he makes, the enemies he has. And last night, his allies, and you could see them dancing and cheering all over the world. I mean, your head, you could see them cheering and dancing all over the world. And at times last night, it sounded to me like Obama was speaking as a victorious leader, if not a foreign invasion. You see, I know what's going on here, so it was tough for me to watch this objectively. I know exactly why he's doing this. And I've been saying it for 6 years, so I can't say anything about it that you haven't already heard. And I hate being redundant. I really do hate repeating myself because it shows a lack of creativity. But when it is what it is, what can you do? The man thinks this country needs to be taken down a peg or two. And he's not alone. Many people in his party and many people in the leftist movement believe this country has been artificially and unfairly and unjustly a superpower, too rich, too powerful, too whatever, and we need to be cut down to size. And it's his view that this superpower status and all this prosperity was achieved on the backs of pick your favorite minority. And it's time now to pay back. He's never going to admit that. He would never, ever, unless he slips up someday. But it's there for everybody to conclude if you just listen and if you just learn what liberalism is. And by the way, the reason I keep pounding this is because I think the solution to this is found in understanding this. You know, we have all these commentators on Fox. We have all the columnists everywhere. Everybody's throwing their opinion out there, and then that's it. And people are frustrated by lack of action. Okay, we know there are a lot of people, the majority of people disagree with it, yet it happened. And as a caller said yesterday, why is the country so paralyzed in fear of one guy? Well, there are obvious answers to that, too. But the fact is the paralysis is there. You can complain and moan at the commentators who may be right, may be wrong, but even the ones who are right, then what? Okay, so you watch Fox, and you watch 5 or 6 commentators get it right, and then the next day nothing's changed. And So my focus here is always oriented toward having this understanding, this disagreement that we have with Obama on policy, and have it mean something. Have it mean something towards affecting change. Not just, anybody can sit here and tell you what's wrong with the country. Anybody can sit here or anywhere else and tell you what they think. But how many are doing anything? And everybody thinks somebody else should be doing it. That's not a criticism, by the way. I'm just observing. And so my point in trying to get to the motivation behind this is I think if many more people than do understood the motivation, there would be far more than just disagreement with this. And the disagreement is all over the place. I mean, even some Democrat senators are not happy. Some Latinos are not happy. Do you know the tech community is miserably unhappy today? They didn't get what they thought they were going to get. These idiots, I cannot believe these idiots actually thought that what Obama was talking about all this time was increasing the H-1B visas. These idiots didn't have the slightest idea what this is about. And now that they've got it, I'm reading my little tech blogs today, and you can't believe how many of them are disappointed. After all the money they spent, after all the support they lent, and they get nothing, they get bupkis. They were never going to get what they want. They were lied to. They were misled. So welcome to the club. These are otherwise smart people. No, I'm not kidding. They really thought that when Obama's speech was concluded, they're going to be able to keep a lot more Ivy League grads, a lot more high-tech engineers from MIT, from foreign countries, this kind of stuff. And that, Obama's not touching that because that's not what immigration reform is about to him. He's about providing a current and constant underclass, a permanent underclass for the Democrat Party. This thing last night was about many things, one of them one-party rule. This was about creating however many millions we're talking about here, new Democrat voters last night. And here you have all these, the Chamber of Commerce did not have, what do people think they were going to get here? I am sitting here, I literally am stunned at looking and reading the well, no, I'm not stunned because I'm really coming to the conclusion that we are surrounded by genuine ignorance in far many more places than you and I would like to admit. And I'm not talking about stupidity. Anyway, this is why I continually focus on the why, on the motivation, because I think that's one of the best teaching methods. I think giving people the reason why something has happened would wake them up. You have a lot of low-information people and half-engaged people who think this is fine because it's fair. And because we're being nice people and we're being nice to the poor, we got a great country, they want to come to our country to get rich or to get safe or to, well, fine, who can turn them down? And then how do you oppose that? But that's not what this is. There isn't any compassion to what Obama's not overflowing with compassion. Obama's overflowing with anger. Obama is filled with rage. He doesn't like certain aspects of this country, and he's taking advantage of the power he's got to do whatever he can to change it. And it's almost a punishment. It's not as though he has a different utopian vision of America. I don't think that Obama thinks America as a third world country is an improvement. I don't think that's what I think he thinks we need to become a third world country because in his mind, we've created third world countries. We have kept people in third world countries. We've stolen from people in third world countries. So it's about time we paid our due. I think this is part and parcel of what inspires him and motivates him. And if you read Saul Alinsky, you can't help but conclude this. And if you listen to some of the community organizers that are out there talking today, that's the only conclusion you can come to. I mean, if you're going to open the floodgates to the third world, what are you going to... And it's not that Obama thinks everybody being equally miserable is fair, because he's never going to be miserable. He's never going to be subjected to any of this. He is never going to be affected or impacted by any of this. He's always going to have multiple layers of personal insulation from all of the policy initiatives that he implements. He's not going to be affected or impacted by any of it. And neither will many of his buddies. So anyway, this is why, ladies and gentlemen, I look at all this and try to explain the motivation, because I think therein lies the key to enlightenment, or opening up the minds of many who otherwise wouldn't be enlightened. And there's a risk in it, too. Obviously, there's a risk in if you are good, if you're a good communicator and you clearly spell out what the motivation is. Some people are just not going to want to believe it, and they'll automatically reject it. So it carries risk with it. But nevertheless, it seems to me the best route. So it's a long, roundabout way of asking for your understanding, as I am repetitive time and again with some of these things. But I really did. I mean, there were times in this speech last night I really thought I was listening to somebody speaking from the standpoint of conquering hero. Somebody's conquered this country. Somebody has conquered this country and is defending now and speaking up for people that don't live here, as though they have achieved some kind of victory. And I thought, imagine what would happen if just in a week, if Obama worked as hard for Americans as he does for illegal aliens. Just imagine if he cared as much about the unemployed, can't get health care, tax-paying citizen of this nation as he cares about people who are not citizens. But I love the irony, and I love this, of Obama claiming that our immigration system is broken. This from the guy who refused to enforce the immigration laws for 6 years. In fact, he even sued the state of Arizona for attempting to essentially create their own replica of federal immigration law for the purposes of protecting their own state borders, and Obama sues them. And he claims that our immigration system is broken, and it isn't broken. It's just not a set of laws that are being enforced. And there are a lot of people today, as I said, the tech guys are not happy, the Chamber of Commerce is not happy, some Democrats are not happy. Of course, the left will say, well, see, it must have been a good speech. If everybody's unhappy, then it must be, made everybody mad. There must be some equally really good things about this. And I throw that old saw analogy away.